you had a chapter kind of dedicated to where the mafia came from. You talked about multiple different kind of names and
Mhm.
where it could have came from. And which one do you kind of believe that?
Oh,
Which one do you go with?
yeah, that's another great question. When no one really knows where the word mafia came from, and everyone, and it's a word we should want to know its origin, because the word mafia is like so often used across the globe now. The Russian mafia, the Armenian mafia, the Albanian mafia, the Bulgarian mafia, the Irish mafia, etc., etc.
A
But
lot.
there really, it all comes from the Sicilian mafia. That's where it all came from. That whole word. Where did it come from within Sicilian society? I really desperately wanted to know myself. And what I found was there was a tremendous Arab influence in Western Sicily at one point. And the Arabs, the Arab Berbers, which are Arabs from North Africa, they were really, really anti institution, anti government, anti authority. And they were pushed into the sort of Western region of Sicily. And I feel the mafia's founding fathers are of Arab Sicilian origin. That's what I came to the conclusion, that these Arabs who eventually obviously became Sicilians over the course of centuries, those sort of Sicilians with Arab blood became the original mafiosos. And the word mafia, all historians pretty much agree for the most part that the word comes from Arab origin. A lot of people say mafaz, mafe, different Arab words that stem from like a cave, a proud horse, which would interpret to become a proud young man who's a mafioso. And all of these Arab words that sort of go into it are a little distant to me. They weren't over the target. They were sort of like out there, but they gave me the clue that I should look deep into Arab words and culture. So eventually, I came up with the etymological root word for mafia being there was, and I came up with tremendous amounts of evidence to prove it in the book, as you know. But there was during the most of us are familiar, a lot of us who study history are familiar with the siege of Khartoum, when General Gordon Pasha of Great Britain was trying to hold off Khartoum from a siege of an Arab army headed by a Muhammad Ahmad, who was the self-proclaimed Mahdi. And the Mahdi was supposed to be somebody who was a direct descendant of Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad. And the Mahdi sort of creeps up throughout history time and time again whenever the Arabs feel they're being oppressed. And when the Arab Berbers of Western Sicily felt that Italy proper was oppressing them and that they didn't have a chance of survival without unless they banded together and defended themselves, they sort of became sort of like what the modest regime would be. The Mahdi's army was the modest regime. And the modest regime was the word for that was the Mahdiya. And the Mahdiya is one letter away from mafia. And I believe that that was the root word for the word mafia. I believe that these Arab Berbers of Western Sicily who banded together to protect themselves and the people from the overarching authority from Rome in Italy, originally Turin, but in Rome when Italy was unified, and they started to push up against Sicily, even though they sucked, they absorbed Sicily into the Italian unification. The Sicilians weren't happy with it. And the Arab Berbers were really, really pissed about it. And I believe that's the word. And I don't just go on a whim and say, and obviously in this broadcast, we have very limited time to get deep into it. But if you read the book, you'll see I don't just say this is what I think. I use tremendous pieces of evidence from authorities that brings us back to that word as the origin of the mafia.
Hey, thanks for watching this clip. This clip came from one of my interviews I did in the past. Please hit subscribe if you want to get more clips like this. Also, if you want to watch the full interview, I'll put a link in the description. Or you can hit the button on the screen to watch the full interview.